This episode of the Game Over Greggy Show is brought to you by Movement Watches. Movement Watches was founded on the belief that style shouldn't break the bank. The watchmaker's goal is to change the way consumers think about fashion by offering high-quality, minimalist products at revolutionary prices. With over 500,000 watches sold to customers in more than 160 countries around the world, Movement Watches has solidified itself as the world's fastest-growing watch company. Movement watches start at just $95. Now, at a department store, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at $400 to $500. Movement figured out that by selling online, they were able to cut out the middleman and the retail markup, providing the best possible price. Classic design, quality construction, and stylized minimalism. Over 500,000 watches sold in more than 160 countries. Did I say that? I did. Right now, you can get 15% off with free shipping and free returns by going to movementwatches.com/Greggy. That's MVMTwatches.com/Greggy. This watch is cool. You've seen me talk about it before. Black face, red hands, black band. I look awesome. So it's time to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Step up your watch game. Go to movementwatches.com/Greggy. MVMT. Join the movement. So, Nick.
Yeah.
What's your real topic? Because my topic was kind of a cop-out. I'm just saying Nick talk.
No, that's really great. My topic is minimalism. I watched a documentary about minimalism called Minimalism on Netflix. The documentary was good. It was fine. It was following these two guys that wrote a book about it, and they're touring around to promote that book and just telling people sort of their theories and mentality when it comes to just our consumer culture in general.
And this is the idea of owning as little as possible?
It's not necessarily that. It's more about not owning for the sake of owning, not consuming for the sake of consuming, not getting caught up in needing the new cell phone every year, needing the new car every 2 years. Like it kind of redefines the definition of materialism, right? And this is one of the things these guys really kind of focus on, where they were like, materialism used to be about really caring about the things that you had and the materials they were made out of. And like, you know, when you bought a car, you cared about that car and you took care of that car for a long time. You took pride in the fact that you could work on that car and like would wash the car. Now we've gotten to a point as a society where we don't value those things anymore. They're just kind of either status symbols or they're these things in our life that we think define us, that we think we need. But in reality, you know, when they cite some studies where they're like, the more things that people need, this is what they need, this is where their happiness levels goes, because there's never enough. Yeah. Right. Like, and they talk about Black Friday, they talk about these big events where people just have to have the stuff, but they don't really know why they need it. It's this weird impulsive need, and when they get it, it doesn't fulfill that part of them that's sad or lonely or unhappy. And so I don't necessarily 100% agree that you can't like find a happy middle ground. But I see it in myself, right? Case in point, like I have a cell phone that I've had for 4 years. I don't really feel the need to get a new cell phone unless there's something that really, really happens. But like Tim, for instance, you love the tech.
I love that shit.
You love it, right? So I just wanted to get your guys to just talk about that with you guys, because I feel like, especially in this day and age where everything's so easily attainable.
Well, I think that's kind of what it is. It's the addiction to scrolling, like especially with phones, where it's just like you wake up in the morning and the first thing you want to do is like, how many notifications do I have? And it's like, you just, even if you don't care, you got to get to the bottom. You know, you go on Instagram.
You want to see everything.
You want to see everything. Right. And it's like, if you miss stuff, like you feel like you're missing out. But as you're getting the stuff, you're not really getting anything. Like there's no goal to it. It's not like, oh man, I hope I see this picture.
I found myself being annoyed. I don't know if it's a recent update or not, but and maybe it's always been this way. I don't think it is. But with Instagram, where all right, cool, I'm scrolling. Oh, somebody texts me. I pop over to see the text. I come back to Instagram and it go right back to the top of the feed. It doesn't let me pick up from where I left off scrolling. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, wait, why do I care so much?
I had like a fucking breakdown in New York with Kevin where I'm like, this fucking Instagram update keeps bumping me to the top, and it's so annoying. I'm like, there's a problem here that I am this upset.
The thing I've been thinking about too with like, you know, last week, and this is all convoluted for the Gamescast thing or whatever, we're talking about the games I've been playing, and I've been jumping around so much, right? And granted, nothing was striking me. We're playing a game soon here that I think is going to hook me in. But I was thinking about it this weekend while I was just chilling, because of course when Jen's in town, fuck my phone. I'm not, you know what I mean? She's the one I'm usually texting. So when I'm done, usually I'll text her. She's responding. She's going to do something. I'll hop over to Twitter. And I'm hopping so back and forth that I feel like I'm sinking so much time into looking at Reddit or looking at Twitter or looking at, and not even posting, just looking, not even answering things necessarily, that I'm like, I'm going to try to not turn it off, but like when I go home, maybe check it once before bed or something. Because it's getting to the point where I feel like, man, if I cobbled together all the time, I would have played probably more Gravity Rush, and I would have played more Yakuza, and I would have played more of ROM. You know what I mean? Like, I need to figure that out. I feel like there's got to be a balance.
Yeah, it's for me. I mean, we've talked about similar things many times in the show.
Management.
I love this stuff. So it's like I don't necessarily. I think that there is a line where it becomes a problem, but I think that people like to kind of create these scenarios where they feel like they're better than other people, where it's just like, well, you're just addicted to your phones, and it's like, okay, well,
I'm addicted to talking with my friends
with
and
your
seeing
life.
them.
You know what I mean?
But the thing about it for me is I'm not throwing stones and saying like this, right? For me, it's just that I feel like my quality time has gone down. I feel like I used to be all over it and making better posts and doing better things, but now I'm checking even if I'm not posting or responding to comments or whatever.
Yeah, it's. I had to move all of my social apps into a folder like on a third page of my phone because it was just every fucking every time I had to check Twitter, check Snapchat, you know what I mean? It like OCD kicks in so hard if you have those tendencies.
Yeah.
That I had to hide it because if I see it, I'll have to check it. So doing that, I don't check my socials as much. Sorry guys, if anybody's trying to tweet at me right now, but like I feel a lot better about my day, man. I just have, it's like a presence of mind thing.
Yeah.
You know, I feel that a lot because I try to do too much, as Tim knows. I try to do way too much, and it's like
all do.
it's a super fucking distracting thing.
Yeah.
It's just distracting. Like if you can manage that distraction, you'll get a lot more done and just be more present in your day. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. So that's my.
But I mean, minimalism, back to that or whatever.
Yeah.
It is the thing of like, I think for some, you know, it's funny living with Colin, of course, because Colin has like nothing except like his few shelves of toys. And I have more stuff and more statues and more comics. But even that, I still feel coming from the Midwest, where I know my friends who have all this stuff, or not that I'm disparaging our fans, but when they send photos of, we love digital, why doesn't everybody love it? And they send walls of collector's edition. It's like, I feel like I'm running very low in terms of what I'm going. And I always talk about like the Funko Pops. Like, I'll only buy a Superman Funko Pop or a Batgirl if I really like it. But like, I'm not, if that Funko Pops would have come out when I was in high school, I'd have every motherfucking one of those things and have them in all these different rooms and all these different things. But that, I think part of it is San Francisco and the fact that we do have to share an apartment and we do have so much less space.
Yeah. This whole minimalism thing, this documentary is definitely making the rounds, and I've heard it in multiple groups now come up. And so earlier I had a moment where I was like, oh, fuck, this is the same thing everyone's talking about. I feel like it's the new vegan. It's the new thing where it's like, I'm a minimalist, and people like kind of take pride in that shit. Because multiple people I know are like committing to that, and they're like defining themselves as minimalist.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'm not trying to talk shit about it. Like, cool,
No,
that's you.
It's
do
definitely
you.
a movement. There's definitely a movement happening in our culture today, which is a direct correlation or backlash from the pace and the level of consumerism that we've all become, right? And that movement, I mean, you hear it too in a more spiritual sense, or maybe a little bit more, I guess, like mental sense. People talk about mindfulness, right? And I think those kind of go hand in hand, which is like, how do you just take a moment to just focus on the present right now and not worry about all the shit you should have had or done or what you're gonna do, right? And I think that minimalism kind of ties into that, where you see like I would probably count myself amongst the minimalists. I'm not gonna go out and like live in a fucking house that's the size of a small compact car or anything like that. But you've been to my house. We have a whole room that has a fucking yoga mat in it.
I mean, Nick's house it's the most minimalist thing you can possibly have. Like,
Yeah.
How much is that your wife, though? How much that's the wife?
a lot of it was my wife.
Because I remember when you brought home the 1989 Batman, she was like, so what's this?
She was like, Batman and Wolverine. No, we're good. No, my wife started it, right? And that was one of the things that I learned when I moved in with her, was I had all these DVDs and books and all this stuff that I thought that, like, I don't know why I had it. I don't know why I was collecting it. I don't know why that was happening in my life. It's just something that I'd always done. And it wasn't until she said, you don't have to have this stuff. Like, you can keep just the books that you really love, that are these cherished moments, but you don't need your textbooks from college anymore. You don't need the DVD collector set of these movies that you're never gonna watch again, especially since there's Blu-ray now and like streaming. You just don't need this stuff. Like, and so when I moved in with her, I was like, why do I have this weird anxiety about throwing this shit out or giving it to Goodwill? Yep. And she's like, well, we got to ask yourself that. Like, where does that come from? What is that about? And when I did it, when I finally was like, I don't need this stuff. Like, I don't need to clutter my life with things just for the sake of having or owning. I literally had my happiness level went up. Because I was like, I don't have to worry about that. It's one less thing I have to worry about that doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter that I have 14 books on my shelves that no one ever sees because I don't have people over my house anyway. Like I don't remember what's in these books.
Yeah.
Who am I trying to be?
Yeah.
You know? Oh, I read the fucking The Invisible Man when I was in high school. Like,
I touched
I don't
that
remember
thing.
what that fucking thing's about. You know? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think there is something to it, though.
There definitely is. And I mean, I think that we're in an interesting point now with the digital versus physical conundrum that keeps coming up, whether it's movies or music or video games, where, you know, a lot of people that have collected games for years are at a point where, or collected whatever media it is, have hit a point where it's like, the developers aren't even making everything available physically. Like, I mean, even with music, there's so many EPs that there is never a CD that comes out because, like, to the artist, why would they do that? Because they're not going to make money from it and all that. And there's so many layers to it, but it's like, that's hard to wrap your head around because when you enjoy collecting the things, you want that stuff and you feel like you're missing out on it. And there is like something in your mind where just you like it, you know? It's like that the collecting is what makes you happy.
So I think I forget. I don't think it was in this documentary. I think I just heard it someplace. But there was someone talking about. It might have been on a podcast I was listening to, talking about vinyl and how vinyl's like making a weird resurgence now.
Yeah, you can't especially with the recent release. Like if you put in an order now, it takes like 3 times as long now because everybody and their mother is pressing vinyl, and there's a limited amount of plants.
And but that's crazy, right? That is a direct like pushback to the ease of which you can get everything, right? It's society going, wait, like maybe we want that thing that was like tangible and physical and like we could hold.
It's that niche, right? Of like it is collecting things, it is holding things, and it's like I don't want, you know, for me, my collecting traits, right? Like comics, I stayed away from comics and famously, because everyone know this story. No, it's bullshit. I stayed away from comics until they went digital, right? That was my thing. I used to tweet all the time at DC Comics, go digital, go digital. And when they finally did, I was all in, and I'm fine with that. But I still buy every Walking Dead trade paperback, even though month to month I'm buying the digital version of the book. I was already 19, 17 trade paperbacks in before I started using Comixology. So I was like, well, I got to keep this going. I got to keep this going.
Kevin with his Simpsons DVD collection.
Right.
Like, why are you still buying the DVD versions of Simpsons, but you fucking love it?
You got to finish.
Dude, Tim. But they stopped. Season 17 is the last one.
They stopped making DVDs?
The Simpsons seasons.
That sucks. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you spend all this time collecting. Like, my most prized possession, my Fast and Furious Steelbook Blu-ray collection. Like, the day that Best Buy decides not to do that style, I'm gonna fucking die inside.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. And that was the thing. You know, you're talking about your DVDs. When I first moved in with Colin, I was just I had a trunk full of DVDs. And finally, I was like, "Fuck, I gotta do." And I whittled it down and kept like all my Kevin Smith one and all my Zombies one. All, you know, I think. But I was looking over it yesterday on the shelf because it's piled up with all these PS3 games I never play anymore. And it was like it's all sun faded now. I looked over it like them because the sun's been hitting. It's just like. When am I going to watch the Dogma DVD again? Not that I don't love Dogma, but like, is it probably on demand? And if not, I could, or on Netflix. And if not, buy it off Amazon and do whatever.
I feel like every couple of years, like there'll be some event in my life, whether it's like moving my room or moving to a different building or just something, just cleaning and like refreshing, where I prune through stuff. And every single time I get rid of things that the last time I was like, oh, I'll never get rid of this.
Yeah.
And it's weird where it's like looking at like my PS2 game collection, right? Like I eventually traded in a whole bunch of them to get my PS3, but there's certain games where I'm like, these mean something to me. Like this copy of Amplitude, I'm never gonna get rid of because it is special. But it's like this copy of Grand Theft Auto. If I ever needed another one, I can just buy it on Amazon if I wanted, even the collector shit. But like every year, I feel like it's whittled down more and more and more.
Yeah.
And there's very few things that I'm like, I will never get rid of these that I believe that I'll never get rid of.
But I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is that what does that stem from? Right? What does it stem from? Because realistically, you're probably never going to go back and play those games, right?
To me, I really do think it. And the reason I brought up social media earlier is I think it's the same thing. It's like you're kind of creating the person you want to be via what you have. You know,
so you're defining sort of a little bit of yourself through those material
through
objects.
the things. It's like if someone were to like walk into my room or like look at a picture of my room or whatever, I get what Tim's about. Like I'm down with this shit.
Sure.
And I think there's an extra layer too where it's kind of you're convincing yourself of who you are
Right.
through this stuff. Like you're trying to decide like these are the things that I stand by and these are the things
Interesting.
that I value.
Yeah.
And I think that there's an actual monetary value that you assign to it, where that's why collector's editions work
Yes.
for games or movie, actually anything, where it's like you will pay over double the admission price to whatever it is for some shit that you don't even want, just because you're like, I really like this shit.
Yeah.
And I support this shit. And me having this statue that is cheaply made and a piece of shit in my room is going to make me feel like I really,
I was a part
I
of that.
supported it.
I support this because this
I'm that big
defines
of a
me.
fan.
I
Sure.
am this person.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And so it's like you're kind of putting money and time and literal space in your house towards something that you feel is creating who you are.
You're making a shrine, basically.
Yeah. You know, and it's like that.
So
My brother's like he to this day collects things. Like while I stopped and kind of moved on and like I'm too busy to even do that shit. I'm just kind of like living my life at this point. And social media is my vice with that stuff. Like he's continued. So whenever I go back to my mom's house and look, he has all my shit that I've collected just displayed. You know,
His shrine to Tim.
like, I mean,
He's collecting Tim.
but it's great stuff. I
kinda
mean,
cool.
there's so much overlap between me and his interests and stuff. But like
Yeah.
Q and 5, like the amount of vinyls and CDs and shit. Like my brother has so much shit autographed and just like has a wall of all this shit.
That's
And
fucking
it's
awesome.
like he stands. I mean, when I go back, it's like it's not only nostalgic, but it's like, oh yeah, like it does make you kind of feel proud to be like, I do have all this shit.
Yeah.
You know, like I was there. I made sure that I pre-ordered day one. Like I made sure that I was on the up and up, not just of getting it, but like knowing it was happening. Right?
Sure.
And it's not just the music, like with games and stuff, being able to see the collections I have where I'm like, yeah, these are the collector's editions. They're not the greatest hits version. There's no fucking ugly green stripe on it. Like I was there.
It feels important for timeline, and I think for like, the example right now is that I'd been buying indefinitely the Invincible hardcover Ultimate collections because I love Invincible, right?
Shit is so good.
And so now that Invincible's going to end, we are into the 12 final issues of this. It's like, oh, yeah, it's actually kind of awesome. I have these because now I'm going to read. I'm going to sit there and read them all. Leading up to the final thing. So there is a point to it in the end, but there is so much time.
That's
outside of
interesting.
it.
For me, I think that's where I came to that point where I'm like, the only reason I'm keeping these things is because of the fear of missing out. Of like that one time where I'm like, I really want to watch Big Trouble in Little China right now. Oh, it's there. It's on my shelf, right?
Exactly.
But what I think really kind of was good for me was when streaming became a real option where I was like, oh, I can just let go of that. Like, it's always there, and if it's not there, there'll be something else that I want to watch. Like, I don't. It's freeing. It's very liberating to be like, what was I? I went to look for something on Amazon the other night, and licensing wise, sometimes it's on Amazon, but it'll be there. It's always there. Then you click into it, and it's like, oh, ways to watch, and then sometimes you just can't watch it, and I'm like, oh, I can't watch that thing. Oh well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Right.
That's it.
I'll find something else to fucking occupy
When
my
I got
time with.
the 10-year all-in-one Smallville, DVD thing, I was like, awesome. Now, mind you, I owned all the Smallville season collections through like 5 or 6, and I was like, I gotta stop, and I sold them all or whatever. And then when I got the giant collection all in one, I was like, yeah, and watched 2 episodes on disc 1 and never have popped back in because I'm also now lazy. I'm like, I don't want to put another disc in.
Yeah, it's like a pain in the ass.
Exactly.
Now. Yeah, I had this whole DVD collection. I mean, a wall of DVDs, and I just put them all in a fucking box and got rid of them because they're low res and I can't watch
Yeah, you
like
can't
not
watch
Exactly.
shit anymore.
We're all
And
spoiled.
so now I got to rebuy this shit in 4K eventually, and then 6K or
Yeah.
whatever they come out with. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's the cycle. I mean, so for me, the real, I think I have an issue with this in a way that you guys don't. When it's not even collecting physical shit, it's collecting digital shit. You might when it comes to like PlayStation games or something like that. But like for me, my most prized possessions, like if my house was on fire and I had to get something, it'd be my hard drives. Like I
Sure.
need that shit because whether it's pictures or
And you have
all that
videos
stuff-
but
of
it doesn't
everything.
exist.
but that's the thing. But it's like the amount of time, especially like I'm talking 2005 to 2012, like when torrenting was huge and the HD was first becoming a thing, and HD video, and you can download stuff. Like I would just spend days and days and days downloading movies, downloading music, downloading everything just because I wanted to have it and I wanted it to be as organized as possible. I wanted access to it. And this is before streaming.
Yeah.
But I just kept going and going. I wanted every Disney movie. I wanted every Pixar movie. I wanted every Fast and Furious.
You would tag them?
Like,
You'd,
it had to be tagged. It had to be, everything had to be
Everything
named
in its own folder.
in its
all
own
laid
folder.
out. Yeah.
Parentheses. Is it 1080p or is it 720p? I wanted to know all that shit. And when it comes to music, like music was the thing I was like even more crazy about. Buy the physical, rip it
Sure.
myself.
Yeah, I remember this.
Rename it all myself, and it's like intricate folders and shit. And it's like, it's just crazy that these are files that don't exist. But then there's that fear of Like for a lot of it, it's like, all right, cool, I can always re-rip it or I
Right.
can always find it again. But there's certain stuff, especially when you are into like weird niche shit, where you're like, if I lose this, I'm never getting this. It's
gone.
You know, like random ass Eminem freestyles that he did, who the fuck knows where, and you got an MP3 on Napster one time.
Yeah.
If you don't get that, you can't Google it and find it.
Well, it's
you know?
like, when we moved digital, right? When everything started going digital with photos, like if the transition, from college with digital photos into this, I at some point got rid of my computer when I was working at IGN. So I put all of my digital photos and digital movies on my PS3. So all of my media from like before I have an iPhone and between graduating or being in college and getting a digital camera and before getting the iPhone is all on this PS3. And Kevin wanted to borrow it once for his like brother's sleepover or whatever. And I was like, sure. And I was like, wait, no. I can't lend this out because what if something happens at that sleepover to this thing when they're trying to, not that I'm worried about them deleting it, but what if the PlayStation 3 just dies? And of course I put it down and I've never picked it back up or do anything with it.
It's the fear.
Yeah, of course.
It's the fear of losing it. Even though losing it wouldn't be the end of the world. It wouldn't even be a problem.
But that's the thing, right? Losing, I tweeted this out the other day and I was just joking around, but it's on a micro level the same thing. It's when you have like 15 tabs open on your browser and your computer crashes.
Yeah.
And then you have that option when you restart to restore that session or not restore that session. If you hit don't restore, it's liberating. You're like, I don't
start anew.
Yeah, you're like, I don't, because I'm not gonna I don't need to read that article on 2Filter about fucking PewDiePie. It's 2 weeks old. He already fucking didn't shut that channel down or whatever. It doesn't matter anymore, right? It's all gone.
Yeah,
Final thoughts.
It's really scary. No, I mean, I have, I think about that all the time. I have digital files, as a musician. I ran a hip hop label for almost 18 years, and all of that is just existing on hard drives. Mm-hmm. And no matter what I do, like that's gone forever if there's some weird like electromagnetic current that wipes it all out.
Right.
Like just to think that your entire life's work can be gone like that, and there's no physical evidence that it existed to me is so fucking scary.
Terrifying.
Like painting still exists in museums. Like that painting will always exist, even if it's dirty or burned. It exists in some way.
Right.
In this era, as an artist, is it forever? I think that's the reason why shit is so disposable now.
Sure.
Yeah.
And why nobody cares about anything and everything's so nihilistic in terms of the arts is because the second it's gone, and nothing means anything anymore. And I hate that. I hate that, guys. Let's fight against it, guys. Let's make physical things.
Yeah.
Let's make statues.
We'll start putting
rocks.
All the Kind of Funny vids will now be released on VHS. If you didn't know, this has been the Game Over Greggy Show, and all the names that have been scrolling here are people who supported us on Patreon last month. Thank you so much for that. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes 5 friends, sometimes 4 friends gather around this table, each bringing a random topic discussion. I know, you like that?
I got it though.
You did.
Yeah.
For your amusement. If you like that, you can head over to patreon.com/kindoffunny. Support us like these folks did. Get Kind of Funny Live 2 access early right now. See Tone Deaf tear the place down. Have a whole bunch of cool, fun, exclusive content there. Or wait until we break it out topic by topic, day by day, the next week on youtube.com/kindoffunny. And on that Friday, then everything goes up as one big video in MP3. Tone, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people enjoy your content again?
Tonedef.com, TONEDEFF.com. Everything is there. Check it out.
And remember, the Patreon exclusive for February will be a one-on-one with Tim and his hero, Tone Deaf.
It should be fun.
Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.
This episode brought to you by Patsy's Vodka
They really
Sauce.
didn't sponsor us. Don't give them.
But
I
they're
mean,
so
go
nice.
see it.
They're so
in the
nice.
end, they were nice.
I'll give it to
If
him.
you want really Italian, really expensive Italian food, go for it.
Yeah, I know. Good Lord.
Yeah.